Yo, it's Doug. Welcome to the 413 Strong Podcast. Today, I've got a pretty interesting episode. I'm going to talk about, if you're a fan of King of the Hill, you're going to get some value and entertainment from this episode. Because there's an episode of King of the Hill where Hank Hill has a problem, and he goes and gets implants for this problem. He has small glutes, okay? And my doctor, or chiropractor that I go to sometimes, and that's a whole, chiropractors versus PT versus stretching, that's a whole nother episode. And I'm still very open-minded towards this. But anyway, my chiropractor told me how he could spot, hey, what's up, Tony? My chiropractor told me how he could spot low back pain from a mile away. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the answer. He said, I can look, and this was, one of those things like, that's kind of a weird thing to say, but I understand. He said, Doug, I could look at a man's rear end and tell you if he has low back pain. I was like, that makes sense. That makes sense. And ever since he said that, I've got to be honest with you guys. I catch myself. I'm like, does he have low back pain? I bet that guy has low back pain. I catch myself thinking like my chiropractor. Because it was such a funny thing, but it holds a lot of weight. But before I get into that, I wanted to share a couple thoughts. First of all, if you've been watching football, I wanted to point out a couple things really quick. First of all, Tony Romo gets so much hate as an announcer, and I don't understand it. I think Tony Romo is a great announcer. He's more loosey-goosey, and he's not like hitting you with all this like history about the players, but it's just, you're getting it from a quarterback's perspective, and he's not super polished like some of the other guys come off as, and I enjoy that. Other people interpret that as not trying, but I just wanted to say, Tony Romo, I enjoy your coverage. Second thing I wanted to say, there's a crowd of people that thinks the NFL is scripted, and I just loved it because they said, there was a post apparently, or a news thing that said, join us for Super Bowl, whatever it is it 60, 54, I don't remember, 59, where the Ravens will take on the 49ers. And they were like, oh, it's scripted, see? Of course, it's the two number one seeds. They're the favorites. Maybe that's why they did that. Maybe it was some kid having fun on the job. Anyway, and people said the Super Bowl's colors are even red and purple. That's proof it's scripted. And I'm like, man, just think about it. If it was scripted, I think by now, out of the thousands of former players that's circulated through the NFL, as short as some of the careers are, there's more players circulate than you realize. We would have heard about it being scripted by now. But obviously it's not, because the Chiefs won. So there we go. We got the Chiefs and 49ers. I think, California's rooting for the 49ers. Missouri and Kansas rooting for the Chiefs. The rest of the country is like, how can they both lose? But I don't know, we'll see. But I also had a thought today at the gym, switching gears a little bit to a more serious thing. I was thinking about this, have you ever had a weight lifted off your chest, and it's such a sense of relief, and you realize you didn't even know it was there, but now that it's off your chest, now that it's gone, and you feel so much relief, you're like, how did I ever live with this heavy burden on my chest, And I'm like, let's make 2024 the year where we pray and we find rest in God's love, and we try to eliminate some of these heavy things weighing on us that shouldn't be weighing on us at all. I mean, obviously, there's going to be stresses in life, but when you find rest in God's love, you will get rest, and He'll take the burden off of you. So let's make this the year, because sometimes we blame a lot of stuff on the devil, and the truth is, we just put ourselves in a really, really bad situation. So, and on a similar note, I was thinking about this at the gym as well. I was like, well, also sometimes we find ourselves where we have all this weight and we didn't realize it was there. I had a consultation with somebody the other day, and he was talking about Christmas this year. He had some Christmas pictures made. And his family did, obviously. He's like, I cannot believe what I saw in the pictures. And he actually screenshotted it and sent me the picture, and there was his gut. He's like, I work too hard for this. I go to the gym 7 days per week. I do this diet. I do this, this, and this. I used to do this sport in college. There's no sense in this, Doug. And so, anyway, he joined the club, and we're going to like attack the things he needs to focus on, because that extra fat on you, that extra gut, the back fat, love handles, whatever, all that, it weighs on you. It weighs on your energy. It weighs on your confidence and your psyche. It weighs on your health, no doubt, no doubt. And I don't think we talk about that enough in America, how unhealthy, a 40-inch waist is versus a 34-inch waist or something. The health risks that increase with that increased waist. So let's make 2024 the year we lose the mental burdens, but also the physical burdens and physical weight weighing us down. And I just, it's a thought I had at the gym, and I just wanted to share it. So let's go into this. Since, talking with my chiropractor, and there was 3 things that seemed to, were the glutes. Let me back up. I talked to my chiropractor, and he said looking at a man's rear end is how he could tell if someone was going to have back pain. And so we're talking about the gluteus maximus, the glutes. So I'm going to give you 3 ways to improve your glute training in the gym. And this is for, obviously this is for the men, especially the dads, because the last thing we want as a dad is to be out in our lower back. Or the kids, you want to do something, they want to play with you, and you can't because your lower back is hurt. Daddy, pick me up, and you can't because your lower back is hurt. Or, hey, let's go outside and do this. I can't, my lower back is hurt. So here's 3 exercises. First of all, exercises can be broken down. We got horizontal pushes, like a bench press, vertical pushes, like a standing overhead press, horizontal rows, vertical rows. We have squat patterns, and then we have what we call hip hinges. Now, a hip hinge would be deadlifts, stiff leg deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, hip thrusts. And I posted a video a while back, and it got a lot of plays because I don't think a lot of guys talk about hip thrusts. A lot of guys are like, oh yeah, and there's the hip thrust machine. A lot of the girls use that. Like, it's a good machine for men. And this is going to be my first exercise I want you to focus on. Because what a hip thrust does, whereas a deadlift, Romanian deadlift, stiff leg deadlifts, they all in one way or another really target your hamstrings a lot, and your glutes, and your back and lats even to some extent, and even your calves. But if you want to talk about a movement that just hits, a compound movement that hits your glutes hard, that's the hip thrust. Now, my gym has an awesome Star Fitness in Elizabeth, an awesome hip thrust machine. I think it's made by Hammer Strength. You just put the plates on, there's a belt that goes across. They've got, Rogue makes this pad that you can put under the belt so it don't, because before that pad I would come home and I'd have like purple bruises all over my stomach and hips from that belt. And so like, don't think you're being a wimp by using the pad. Like, no, it's going to keep you from getting bruised up if you're training right on this thing. So the hip thrust, if you don't have the machine, get like the pad. They call it the Mantis pad, or sometimes, or like, the pad that you wrap around the bar. People use it for their neck, but it's better for hip thrusts. And you want that barbell. Well, first of all, you get a bench, and you want to lie your back on the bench, kind of right where your shoulder blades are. The bench should end just below your shoulder blades, and the bar should go across your hips, feet flat on the floor. And what you do is you lower, and make sure your knees are in alignment with your hips as best you can, feet facing forward. And you want to make sure that your hips lower slowly, and you feel as big of a stretch as you can. And that's why you do this movement leaning back on a bench. That way there's that gap. And you don't just move the weight from point A to point B, and a lot of people swing and rock. That's why I said slowly lower it, and you're just going to explode up. And when you explode, really, really squeeze your glutes at the top. And that's going to make this a highly, highly effective exercise for activating your glutes, really more so than any exercise, because you can go so heavy on it. You don't have to do like 700 pounds, but you're doing even like 225, and you start doing like sets of 15, you're going to feel the burn with this. So it's a good exercise. Hip thrusts will absolutely grow your glutes. There's really nothing better, in my opinion, at growing your glutes, and that's why so many, obviously, girls are a big fan of it. But guys, if you don't want to have a Hank Hill rear end, don't be afraid to hop on the hip thrust machine. All right. Second thing that I recommend, and I mentioned this before, in addition to the hip thrust machine, which is a good hip hinge alternative, which especially if you're recovering from a low back injury and you just got the green light to return to exercise, it's not going to stress your lower back like a lot of deadlift variations will potentially. But the second thing I want to say is implement some single leg exercises. Like when you're doing lunges, split squats, they are great for so many reasons. You're going to, man, my hamstrings will be lit up. But when you're taking those nice long steps when doing a lunge, in addition to your hamstrings, you're going to get an amazing workout for your glutes. It's and a single leg Romanian deadlift is even a good exercise and a good option if you have some lower back pain. It's performed one leg at a time. It increases glute activation and core engagement compared to just having two legs. And there's a study, I think there was a 2012 study that proved this, but I could post the study below in the YouTube video. Bulgarian split squats are a very popular option. If any of you were like me and you trained in 2020 while a lot of people weren't training, and you were training at home with limited equipment, you probably did Bulgarian split squats, and you probably got sick of them like I did. So, if you don't want to do Bulgarian split squats, look, I'm there with you, brother. I do just normal split squats, which is basically like lunge position, but your feet stay stuck to the ground and just squat down. I'll actually, a little hack, a little pro tip, take like a bumper plate or something that's going to your 245 pound, 225 pound plates, elevate your front foot a little bit. And that way you can go a little deeper. And by going deeper in a squat, that's also going to activate your glutes more. And the third thing I'm going to say that's going to help you with your glutes is prioritize proper form and ab engagement. So a lot of times when I see guys squat, it's just this boom, dive bomb issue. They just go down and bounce out of the bottom, and we call that the stretch reflex. If you're into strength and conditioning, they're utilizing the stretch reflex. The stretch reflex is going to help you use more weight. It's going to help you, have a higher PR if you're counting that. I know if you did that, like if you're powerlifting, if you did that at a powerlifting meet, you're going to get the red light because you have to pause a little bit at the bottom. But your goal is improving your health, improving your body, even like in bodybuilding, having a better physique on stage. Like you want to get stronger over time, but it's about getting stronger within a certain context, a certain form, a realm where we're really, really thinking about what we're engaging. And if you want to improve your glutes and reduce that lower back pain, you need to utilize proper form, and some people call it core. I don't use that word because I'm not an apple. Those muscles have names, and when people say core, they're just talking about your glutes and abs, basically. So when you're doing a squat, for example, I want you to think about, bracing your abdominals like you're ready to take a punch. Okay, you take a little deep breath in and you hold it, okay? And you're going to squat down. And it's not just like I'm dropping down, your muscles are allowing you to lower. And all this, you're using your abs, to help brace yourself. And in doing that, once you get lower and lower and lower, you're going to feel the stretches and different muscles. And once, a lot of people just stop at parallel. Let's be real. A lot of people stop way above parallel on a squat. The reason you want to keep going lower is it's going to activate more glutes at the bottom. And no, it's not bad for your knees, provided you've not had a previous knee injury. It's going to be really good for your knees, actually, as long as you're not doing weights heavier than you need to be doing in ego lifting. Think about it. It's weighted stretching. So if you squat below parallel and you allow your hamstrings to touch your calves, that's only going to strengthen your knee as long as you're training smart and not ego lifting. And two, once you get down there, you're going to feel your glutes. And a lot of people are like, oh man, but I want to train my quads. I'm not trying to train my glutes. But that's a good thing. That's why it's a compound lift. There's many muscles working together. And the glute activation in a squat is good. It is really good. Just a lot of guys don't get there because they don't go deep enough. They're afraid to. And maybe there is some, if from sports, some knee rehab work that needs to be done first. And you can talk to, people like me. We prescribe exercise. But if you go to a physical therapist, they prescribe rehab exercise. Maybe that's somebody you need to talk to. But that was the 3 tips, because like my chiropractor said, man, I can spot a man with low back pain from a mile away by looking at his rear end. And if you want to improve your rear end as a man and reduce low back pain, feel like you can actually play with your kids and pick them up. And if you have big muscles, you look strong, people are going to ask you favors. I'm tall. I get a lot of older ladies say, hey, can you reach this off the top shelf for me? And you're going to have people ask you, hey man, can you help me move? Hey, I need help moving this refrigerator. Hey, I got to move a piano. And you're going to get asked a lot of things like that when you have muscles. And you don't want to disappoint with low back pain. And this is the one muscle that so many men overlook, is the glutes. That's because you're not squatting deep enough. You're not engaging your abs and using proper form. And you're not doing any single leg work. By the way, quick thing, Mac McClung, won the NBA slam dunk contest a couple years ago. When he played for Gate City, we played them. Well, he was in he was like in 8th grade, and I was coaching junior high ball at the time. And we played them, and all those boys were tall. The guys on my team were like, is that 8th grade or is that their JV high school team that we're playing? I'm like, no man, that's the 8th grade team. And they could all jump. They're all slapping the backboard on layups, You couldn't dunk because you get technical. But I was talking to the coach. I was like, so I'm just curious, man. I was like, I'm guessing you do some weight room stuff with them. He goes, yeah, we're big on single leg movements. We do a lot of single leg work and no wonder, you want to jump higher, you want the glutes, the hamstrings, and the quads strong. You do get a little bit more glute with single leg work. And then of course, like I mentioned first, make sure you're doing your hip hinges, and don't be afraid to hit that hip thrust machine or just do a barbell hip thrust. All right, so that's all for today's episode. Hope you guys got some value. And if you did, you can subscribe to me on YouTube and rewatch the episodes there. And you'll get notified every time I post a new one, or if I post all the reels on YouTube as well. Also, I might be doing a 4-day challenge, which these challenges they're really more of a master class, and that term kind of gets overused. But I'm going to be doing a 4-day challenge here soon, I've decided. And what I want to do is just kind of help give you a blueprint to, as they would say, lose the dad bod, a blueprint to navigate and get to where you want to be by summer. Because look, the time to start cutting for summer is not May. That's what I see a lot of guys doing. It's not even April. It's not March. It's now. It was actually 3 weeks ago. So I want to help give some of you guys that started things off in January with the best of intentions and it just didn't work out. I want to give you that blueprint, and that's going to be coming up in, like pretty soon. Just be on the lookout and I'll post about it. All right. Appreciate you guys watching, and y'all have a good day.